Hello, and you are listening to The Book Was Better, the podcast where we talk about the book of the film. I'm Luke.
I'm Jacinta.
And this week we're talking about Ever After, a Cinderella story.
Hey you, put down the popcorn and turn on the light. It's gonna be alright, my friend. In the end, take my hand and trust me, the book was better.
Tell me, Jacinta, have you always dreamed of being a princess?
That's all I ever think about.
You know, what do you reckon would be the advantages? What's the big draw? Why do little girls want to be princesses?
Because, I don't know, I guess you kind of think when you're young that royalty has a great deal of money. Though I think if you actually look into many royal families, it's not so much they have money as they borrow money from other people.
Other countries?
Yeah. So there's that illusion of wealth, I suppose.
So
and
stuff.
you have stuff.
And things, I would assume, to accompany the stuff.
Stuff and things. And, well, if Disney would have you believe things, you can speak to animals. Animals will come and rest on your shoulders.
And do your chores sometimes.
Do your chores for you, yeah.
Have you ever had, I find, personally, folding sheets to be really difficult.
Exactly.
I could summon a couple of bluebirds just to help me do that.
Exactly.
A little corner in each sheet. That'd be great. Do you ever think there's like that really suspicious bluebird that shines a black light on the sheet before touching it?
Before touching it.
Yeah. Like the really judgmental talking animal friend. Wow, so we're talking about Ever After. Now, I believe this was your choice.
It was my choice, yes.
So what's your history with this film?
Well, I watched it one time.
Okay. That's not bad.
No, I do. I really did quite like this movie back in, when was it, 1998?
1998.
1998, yeah, so...
Or 1 BTPM, as I like to call it. 1 year before The Phantom Menace.
Yes.
That's the film scale. It's the easiest way to know when anything came out in relation to something else.
That is as valid as any other scale. Yeah, I loved it when it came out, but I did rewatch it this weekend, and maybe not quite as good as I remember, but there's still definitely some a few nostalgic moments, I suppose.
There's not a lot to it, really.
No, not really.
It's pretty empty. I only watched it for the first time. Well, I tried to watch it and then I fell asleep. And then I tried to watch it again and I got bored and I watched Parks and Recreation. And then I tried it a third time and I did get through it, but I was only half watching it. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a rousing review of the movie.
There we go.
It?
That's my Amazon review. 3 stars. It arrived in excellent condition. So, it's by Wendy Logia. Oh, that's professional. I'm going to turn off my phone. I'm going to edit this out, though, because I don't want to do anything.
Oh, God.
Holy shit. Okay, everybody just relax. I'm very popular at the moment. I think these podcasts are just going off.
They're just blowing up, man.
Just blowing up. I was in the supermarket the other day.
The cashier went, "Are you Luke?"
Well, no. No, but I just had that feeling that she was very familiar.
Yeah, he was looking at you funny and you just assumed that it was because of the podcast. Okay. Yeah.
Right. I'm getting a lot of funny looks lately is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Wendy...
Maybe you should wear pants when you go out.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Problem solved.
Society. So, Wendy Logia, author of classics such as Princess Protection Program, junior novel. Have you heard of Princess Protection Program?
Can't say I have.
It's a TV movie starring Selena Gomez.
Oh.
Who's in a Princess Protection Program. I think that's something that... I've got this eerie feeling. I'm no soothsayer or fortune teller, but I feel like this is the sort of thing that is in my future. Top Secret Tiaras is another one.
Right.
And then she's written some love stories for young adults. That's the series. Very creatively named series. Including Hard to Resist, which was number 31, and Crushing on You, which is number 25. And I don't know, it's often when you're here, sometimes I just hear a title and I think, I want to know a little bit more about this book.
Sure.
Like Crushing on You, is it about a giant robot with big crushing fists?
Or a
feet?
large, like, sentient rock?
Yeah, I don't know.
Who's just rolling down a hill and just can't stop his feelings or his momentum.
Is it just about, like, a really fat girl? Or man, it could be about a really fat man. Shauna Phillips' sophomore year is off to a killer start. The junior she's been crushing on, Tommy Jansen, has finally noticed her. Soon, Shauna's so busy with everything but school that her grades take a sudden nosedive, and she ends up with an after-school tutor. Shy Chad Givens is nice, but Shauna isn't interested. Yet as her grades go up, her attention to Chad does also. Now she must choose. Sweet and attentive Chad or drop-dead gorgeous Tommy?
Is Chad gonna given her one? Now, okay, so the sophomore, is that like the second year?
I got no idea. I've had this explained to me. But
I think sophomore is the second year, and wait, is junior... Fuck, I don't know. See, that to me suggests that junior, that he's younger than her, and that is like, no.
Does she have to choose one of them? Couldn't she just study and worry about all this a little bit later?
It's a story for young adults, so of course there has to be two options and she has to choose. That's how they all go.
You must choose.
You must choose. And at graduation she would get up and like do a speech.
Look, Shauna,
telling everybody which one she chooses.
The truth is, you're going to have to fuck one of these boys because you're a woman and you must choose one and fulfill his fantasies. So, put down the books and choose one of these men.
If this was a true feminist novel, she would just fuck both of them.
Yeah,
because she wouldn't have to choose.
She wouldn't have to choose. She'd have them both at the same time. Run a train. You know, the guy in the... I couldn't choose between whether I'd read out that one or Hard to Resist.
Okay.
The man, the object of desire in Hard to Resist is called Christian Archer.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's... What a sexy name.
And he goes to Britland. Probably hangs out in a forest. Christian Archer. Very, very pleased to meet you. So, and look, at the back of this book, this Ever After book, there's a little bit about the author, and it says, Wendy Logier has written several novels for young adults. She and her prince are living happily ever after in their New Jersey castle. I know! It was all going so well, but that's like saying they're living happily ever after floating in a toilet bowl or something, right? Isn't it?
Fucking hell.
It's like saying they live in a swamp.
Like, this woman clearly has a very clear focus for her fiction writing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sensing a definite theme here. I think it's time to grow up and not want to be a fucking princess anymore, lady.
There we go. Straight from the source. So you grew up, you've abandoned, you don't want to be a princess anymore?
Well...
What if Harry? What if Harry?
Wait, are we talking about, like...
Henry? Henry's in the book.
Henry's in the book. So are we talking about real-life Prince Harry or fictional Prince Henry?
Oh, now there's your choice. Do you go for...
Okay, alright.
The sexy Henry, played by Dougray Scott.
Okay.
Who is a nice guy, has a nice kingdom, but doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Or do you go for Harry,
Okay.
the ginger dynamo,
Yep.
who does exist, but is a bit of a chav, and his family is like a little bit fucked up.
Yeah.
And you'd be in tabloids and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Do I have to go and live in the 1500s if I pick Henry?
Yes.
Oh.
But it's a fictional 1500s where we pretend, and it's in France. And it's a fictional thing where we imagine that they lived happily ever after and weren't murdered during the revolution.
Okay. But do they have showers?
They don't
with
have
taps and, plumbing and
no,
stuff?
they don't have...
Oh, no, look, I'm sorry. If there's no plumbing, then I can't do it.
No electricity either, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't want to shit in a hole.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. It's got to be Harry.
Weren't there, like, pictures of Harry released when he got drunk with his friends and was shitting in a hole or something like that?
No, I think he just got his dick out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's too confused.
That's fine.
Yeah, and as we said, Dougray Scott, Drew Barrymore, Angelica Houston are the stars of this film. Dougray Scott's claim to nearly fame was that he is the guy that was cast as Wolverine and gave it up to go and do the bad guy in Mission Impossible 2. So he must be absolutely covered in bruises from kicking himself every day. Like, Hugh Jackman wouldn't even be a thing now, and now Hugh Jackman's like this huge thing, and who's Dougray Scott? Nobody. But he could have been Wolverine. And what do you think? Like, do you reckon he would have been an alright Wolverine watching this thing? I actually do.
Yeah, I think he's got, he could definitely pull off the sideburns. I don't know if he's got, well, see, it's hard to say, because you would never have looked at Hugh Jackman and gone, that guy can unleash the beast.
There's a cool Scottish indie film called Twin Town, where Doug Ray Scott is playing like a kind of sinister cop. Mm-hmm. I think I got a really hazy memory of it, but he's cool. He's badass.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Whereas he's a little bit sort of, well, we'll see. Yes. So here's the beginning. Here's the prologue. It says prologue 1500. You've just upset me by saying it was the year. I was hoping it was the word count.
Oh, sorry, man.
So here we go.
Long walks in the moonlight, unexpected tokens of affection, a gallant young prince on a majestic horse. What girl hasn't dreamed of being swept off her feet by love in a fairy tale romance?
Once upon a time in the captivating French countryside, a girl named Danielle dreamed that very dream.
But she did so only after her other dreams had been shattered.
What I don't get is what is the end game of this fantasy? Like, Prince comes in, sweeps you up on the horse. You're like, oh, he's so dreamy. He takes you away. They never sort of say what happens after that. It's just they're going to fuck, right? And is that part of just his fantasy, or is that her fantasy as well? Is it the young girl hoping that some, like, dashing guy is going to sweep her away and fuck her?
I guess she only thinks up to that point, because then at that point, after they get married, she is breeding stock. That is her life.
Or is that just the fantasy? That the romance is having this, growing old with someone and having babies and... Right, come on, that's nobody's fantasy. It's ridiculous. And this continues. The early morning sun had barely risen over the shingled roof of the Manor de Barbarac, where 8-year-old Danielle de Barbarac let out a cry of pure joy.
Christmas! I get a mother and sisters all on one day! Danielle's brown eyes sparkled as she smiled up into the dimpled faces of her middle-aged chambermaids, Paulette and Louise.
They were doing their best to get her dressed and groomed for what was sure to be a very extraordinary day. Brown eyes? Drew Barrymore has green eyes. So Wendy has lost me already. I'm shutting this down. I had the internet in 1998. Where was hers?
What if they're not talking about the brown eyes on her face?
Well, how is it sparkling, though? Had she been eating gems?
Well, she's got chambermaids. Maybe they buff and polish everywhere.
So look, she's normally a scruffy shitcake tomboy, but for the arrival of Angelica Houston's Baroness, baby Drew Jr., she's all scrubbed up and...
Instead, the vision of a beautiful girl dressed in pale pink silk and lace, with her sweet-smelling hair up in shell combs, stared back at her. She felt like a princess.
So there we go, the princess fantasy already, which is very common in America. Like, there's Ella Enchanted, there's all these, like, princess films. And, of course, Disney princesses are huge. And, we often talk about, we read a lot of male-centric books, a lot of action books, where the men are all, it's about being a hero and doing whatever you can because you believe in it, even if it, like, fucks up everybody else's stuff. And the opposite here is that all the women want to be princesses. Despite the fact that America does not have a monarchy and constantly mocks countries that do, why do they all want to be princesses?
I guess again it's that thing about being rich with no effort. Like you just if you're royal, then you're just born into money.
Have nice shoes.
And have nice shoes. And that's but to be fair, that's what everyone wants, is it? Not necessarily to be royal, but to be rich without any effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the dream.
I would like nice shoes. I would like a nice dreamy man to buy me nice shoes.
Me too.
2015, we're supposed to get power laces from Nike.
We are.
Before October.
Such bullshit.
Do you reckon it will happen?
No, they have released the shoes.
Yeah, but they reckon they're actually going to do power laces, working ones.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see.
They'll cost $3,000. So the Baroness is called Rodmilla de Ghent, which to me just sounds like she's from Rockingham or something. Like, what are you doing, you fucking Ghent?
Like Rodmilla de Cont.
Oh,
so maybe it's a bit closer to Cunt than
Gaunt.
Cunt.
You dirty Gaunt. What are you looking at, you fat Gaunt? But before Danielle can meet her, she gets sidetracked by a gaunt half-wit farm boy called Gustav.
Gustav.
Oh, look, let's not pretend any of these people are even trying to be French or use French pronunciation on anything they say.
Oh, Drew Barrymore's fake English accent is my favourite thing.
Yeah, they're all like half-assed British.
And there was no way she was going to stand there and let Gustav mock her. Boy or girl, I can still whip you, she hollered. She turned on her heel and tore out of the room before Paulette or Louise could catch her.
Getting a little 50 Shades in here with the whipping.
Ties him up before she whips him, of course.
Totally approve of that. And then her dad, Auguste de Barbarac, returns with the Baroness and her 2 daughters. The woman was what Danielle would call handsome, not beautiful. She was wearing a burgundy-coloured dress, and her glossy black hair was pulled back into a tight, elaborately styled bun. High, angular cheekbones took up much of her face, and her thin lips were painted a deep crimson. Her narrow eyes scanned the house, the yard, the line of eager, nervous servants. Her Roman nose wrinkled involuntarily with the slightest show of displeasure, as if she had smelled rotting meat. But then the wrinkle was gone, and she turned to Danielle's father with a radiant smile. Now, I didn't mind that. I think that, unfortunately, Logia, with this style of book, this kind of page count, is really just putting in the script with a little bit of extra stuff. So, when she does take the time out to describe Angelica Houston quite effectively as well.
Yeah, you do feel a little bit bad for Angelica Houston to be called handsome, not beautiful.
Yeah, which looks like she was carved out of a bit of rock, doesn't she? She looks like Ron Perlman in a wig.
Oh, she does not.
No, she's beautiful. All right, so the daughters are Marguerite and Jacqueline, by the way. Couple of gunts. Gunts. Nice pair of gunts going in off the carriage. But I can relate to. I like this.
My. She fingered a delicate pink teacup.
Yeah. Very. That's how they refer to it in polite society.
Okay. Yeah, all right.
And then
I'm going home after a bitter spot of whipping. I'm going home to finger my teacup.
I must say, she won't leave her pink teacup alone. That's what happens when you drink during the podcast. Not even alcohol, we should say. This is a very pleasant Monday afternoon.
Yeah. Oh, I do apologise. Now I'm wearing Red Bull down my pants.
Yeah. And I do fear my pink teacup is full of the Red Bull.
Oh, now it's got wings!
So, my question is, inquiring minds want to know, where is the original mother?
Danielle's mother had died during childbirth. She must have been a beautiful, but ultimately a weak woman, Rod Miller had concluded. Fuck you, lady!
No stamina.
Well, when that baby tore her insides to shreds, she must have been very weak.
And it turned her inside out. So her father, Auguste, he's a very busy man, and it's not long before he has to head out again on another trip. He's got more prolonged business abroad. He's so busy that he apparently never took riding lessons. Danielle waited for his goodbye wave. He had almost reached the gate. That was when he normally turned. That day he did not. That day he slumped over and tumbled from his horse. What a rookie! So...
Filled with a despair she had never known, Danielle buried her head in her father's chest, soaking his lifeless body with tears. In a matter of minutes, the most important person in the world had been cruelly snatched away from her. Her precious father was dead, and she, Danielle de Barbarac, was an orphan. Just like Batman!
And yeah,
she's like
swore
Batman.
Vengeance.
She's like 1500 Batman.
A pink teacup was thrown at her window, and she became teacup lady. Tea lady. Went around with a trolley giving everybody milk. We then jump forward 12 years to 1512, where Prince Henry escapes out his window. And I'm thinking, like, how old is this guy? Like, he's like a bad teenager sneaking out his window, but he looks about 50. And it turns out he was 33 at the time of doing this. I did look it up. Okay. So, if he wants to go out, just... man up and go out the front door.
Daddy won't let me.
And he's escaping because his parents are forcing him to marry the daughter of the King of Spain, and he's totally not into it because who let the dogs out, am I right?
Aww.
Yeah.
Aww. He should be happy. Like, maybe she'll come over and she'll bring some, like, paella or something. That'd be nice.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Danielle has now, in this 12 years, morphed into Drew Barrymore.
Do I have to say that line?
You have to say this.
Cock-a-doodle-doo, cock-a-doodle-doo. At the sound
Just slow
of...
it down a little bit.
No,
and just want to hit each syllable.
Cock-a-doodle-doo.
You're missing the doodle. The cock was great.
At the sound of the roosters crowing, the young woman who lay asleep in front of the fireplace stirred. The fire had gone out, and now all that was left was the soot that stained her clothes and face, and the faint smell of embers that drifted through the house.
Or are they cinders? Maybe. I can't believe this, though. Again, how old is she? And she's putting up with this? Why doesn't she move out of home? That's the easiest way to solve all these problems.
Like, surely, the thing that... I mean... I don't know how land ownership worked in the 1500s in France, obviously, but surely if her father was enough of a well-to-do fellow that he owned the house and all that sort of stuff, surely there would be some title or something passed down to her.
And
I know that the wife would become, owner of the lands and all that stuff, but surely she gets something. You know what I mean?
Why, with all those rooms... is she sleeping in the fireplace? I mean, Harry Potter had a better deal than she has.
You're right.
So she's out gathering apples without even a basket. They didn't even give her a friggin' basket. She's using a dress. And a hooded stranger, who's actually Prince Henry, steals one of their horses right in front of her.
Danielle was enraged. Instinctively, she grabbed an apple and hurled it at the oncoming rider. To her satisfaction, she hit him squarely between his thick eyebrows. The unanticipated blow knocked him backwards off the horse.
To be fair, though, Doug Ray Scott's eyebrows probably are the biggest target here. I tell you what, this is the beginning of something like when you read reviews and everything, this idea of female empowerment is something that... It's the spectre of female empowerment haunts this very novel, this very tome. And there's this idea that she's not your typical princess. Like, she's strong and independent, and she's really good at physical things that aren't that thing that princesses are normally only good for in these books. But I reckon this story wants to have its cake and eat it too, because this is an example of her being tough and steadfast, but then there's all these bits where she goes into the fairy tale mode and is just downtrodden and wretched. And it's like, if you're one, why aren't you that in all situations? Like, she stands up to the boys and beats the boys at their own game, but then if Angelica Houston, like, raises an eyebrow at it, she's a quivering, useless mess.
Yeah, but I guess theoretically she does live in the house with her, and if Angelica Houston wants to get rid of her, which she sort of does towards the end, she could get rid of her very easily, and then where would she be?
Why doesn't she just bash Angelica Houston's head in with a rock?
Because then she'd be hung for murder, Luke.
Not if she ran away.
Okay.
Despite her anger, she couldn't help noticing that the young man who stared into her eyes was gorgeous. Chiseled cheekbones, soft red lips, dark eyes with equally dark lashes, and soft silky black hair that just grazed his shoulders. Ooh, a little bit warm in here.
Like,
all of a sudden.
I would say that Dougray Scott was quite handsome, but I wouldn't say that he had chiseled cheekbones.
Well, they're just badly chiseled. Like an amateur sculpture. Recognising him as the prince, she offers for him to slay her for her insolence. She pretty much gets down on her hands and knees and like, all right, I'm sorry, I threw an apple at you. You can cut off my head now. Kick it down the road. But instead, he gives her some fat gold coins, son!
Make it rain! Danielle quickly gathered the coins, squeezing one between her dirty fingers.
My favourite ones.
Real gold coins, and they're mine, she thought dizzyingly. A smile lit up her face. She knew just what to do with them.
Next day, she was out picking apples with a totally bitchin' new handbag. Yeah!
Ow! Now at least she's got something to put her friggin' apples in.
I know. It's great. It's got a beautiful gold clasp on the front too. I love it. So, it turns out her father's old courtier, Maurice, was sold to a guy called Cartier in order to pay the Baroness's taxes. And now he's going to be sent to what sounds like absolutely the most wretched place on earth the Americas.
Oh, man.
I know. They act like, oh, this is gross. Nobody wants to go there. So Danielle wants to use the gold to go to the court, kind of try and bargain with the king and queen and buy this dude back.
Maurice is actually a little bit of a throwback to one of our previous book was betters. He played Duncan from Robin Hood.
Was Duncan the old blind dude?
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
There was a bit of a Robin Hood vibe to this in some aspects, actually. I thought this was an interesting... this show is about reading, about books. I thought this was an interesting statement about that. Someone's been reading in the fireplace again, Marguerite sneered. Look at you, ash and soot everywhere.
Rod Miller took a sip of coffee. Some people read because they cannot think for themselves.
Oh, man. Can you imagine what this podcast would be like if we didn't read anything? It'd be like... Welcome to the Was Better, the podcast where we... And look, Jesus, this Prince Henry, he's certainly making up the rules as he goes along.
A scruffy band of gypsies had surrounded what appeared to be an old man. Henry watched, disturbed, as they rifled through the old man's things.
Just says they rifled in the book.
Oh, okay. They rifled the old man's things. How lucky for him. Tossing them from one gypsy to the next. True, Henry had been a thief of sorts that morning, but he would never do anything to harm an elder. That was going too far.
Yeah, no, it doesn't say that they were harming him, just that they were stealing his shit.
Yeah.
Which is what Henry did when he stole the horse.
Yes.
So it's okay to steal from a dirty, wretched young woman,
Well,
but not an old white man.
Well,
That's too far.
Stealing, that was, I think she says that it was her father's horse, so he's stealing a dead man's horse from his grieving daughter. He's not as bad as just stealing a painting from an old dude.
Did you notice as well the value judgments that Prince Henry is making? He says what appeared to be an old man. He gives him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Could be a teenager with a big white beard having a prank, maybe fell in some hair clippings and some flour and all other crazy, unlikely scenarios happen. But definitely a scruffy band of gypsies.
Oh, absolutely.
Could be an old man, not sure. Give the white guy benefit of the doubt. These dirty gypsies.
Well, maybe he was familiar with the gypsies.
Could be. Briars stuck to his clothing, and as a wayward branch smacked him in the face, Henry swore. Gallantry was the stuff of silly storybooks. I wonder what he said. What do you think he said?
Poppycock!
Gunt! Wouldn't it be great if in reality Henry was just a total bogan? He was like the bogan prince
What's like...
of France.
What would be like a French chav?
No.
Frav? I don't know.
But he's just
Surely
like-
they would have some sort of youth.
Oh, you fucking French! Give me my fucking head, mate! Oh, God! Fucking knocked me noggin!
Look, that's the fucking branch know that I'm the fucking prince. Like, shouldn't it just like fucking fall off the tree as soon as I go past? What a fucking
Down the
prick.
forest. Grow some plants there instead, mate. Smoke it out, king. What are we doing?
We could ask that of any podcast that we do.
I know. It's a long weekend. We're at the end of it.
Yeah.
It's all too much. So Danielle puts on a fancy dress that Gustave borrowed and prepares to barter for Maurice's freedom in the guise of a comtesse. Yeah. Who would ever believe that she, Cindersoot, was a courtier, a noble? The shoes are too big, she mumbled, fussing with the buckles. Slowly she raised her eyes, waiting for the expected jokes. They never came.
Nobody will be looking at your feet, Gustave whispered, obviously stunned. Danielle could feel her cheeks flush. Yards of fabric and I still feel naked, she said, gesturing to her bared shoulders and décolletage.
And fully exposed knockout tits.
I was wondering why I felt a breeze.
You could cut glass. Madam, I can see your teacup. So Henry gets recaptured saving the old man's painting. And it turns out this wasn't just any painting. This isn't like dogs playing poker or any shit like that.
Yeah.
It's the Mona Lisa.
Holy shit.
And the old man is...
Henry's jaw dropped. Could it really be?
Leonardo da Vinci.
The old man smiled at the prince. Michelangelo was busy with his ceiling in Rome. I am but a second choice.
Raphael was in one of his moods. Donatello was fixing some electronics. Now who wants to scarf some pizzas? Radical dude.
Cowabunga!
Henry returns the horse he nicked, and he sees the Baroness's daughter, Marguerite. And there's a little bit of tension here. I'm thinking that maybe he'd like to ride her home instead.
Well, she did inherit her mother's horsey looks.
So Danielle does manage to free Maurice, but only due to a run-in with the prince.
His gaze was so direct, so curious, that Danielle felt that she might faint. Whether it was from fear of being found out or from fear of being near someone so beautiful, she didn't know.
Really overselling this guy.
He's so hot!
It's so dreamy.
Oh, my teacup is practically dripping.
It makes all the ladies swoon. She dubs herself Comtesse Nicole de Lancret. Lancret?
Comtesse Nicole de Lancret?
Sure.
Yeah.
And manages, we'll just call her Nicole.
Nicole!
After Nikki Kidman.
Ah!
Manages to slip away, but only after she has intrigued him. And as for her...
And although she didn't want to admit it, gazing at that handsome, chiseled face had stirred up feelings inside her that she hadn't known she was capable of feeling.
Oh, it's steamed up my teacup. Ladies, is your teacup feeling steamed up? So, look, here's the plot. The king will throw a masquerade ball in honor of Leonardo, his favourite Ninja Turtle, and that it's going to happen in 5 days. And at the stroke of midnight, Prince Henry must announce his engagement to the girl of his choice, or the king is going to choose for him. Probably the Spanish hound. It will be the choice. So he's really got to nail this. It's all totally arbitrary. Nothing bad will happen. He's just really putting pressure on his 33-year-old son to finally do something with his life.
Yeah.
Danielle, meanwhile, is keeping busy in her own charming way.
Danielle removed the floppy old work hat she wore during the summer and wiped the sweat from her brow. She and Petit Four, the manor's resident pig, had been digging in the local field for truffles since sunup. Petit Four had the best snout around.
But Drew Barrymore was a close second.
Yeah.
Is the implication here. It does say they were both digging for truffles. Hopefully, if Henry gets his way, he'll be digging for truffles later, if you know what I mean. Grunt, grunt. Danielle swims in the river in her underwears, trips up Leonardo da Vinci, who is walking on wooden shoes on the water, and runs into the prince on the riverbank. Who hasn't had that happen to them?
I know. Like, I had that happen yesterday.
That's how my parents met.
Your Highness? Danielle stammered. She flung her wet body on the ground. Ooh. Oops, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be a courtier. I'm supposed to be regal. With all the dignity she could muster, she stood up again, trying to ignore the slimy river mud and clumps of grass that stuck to her skin.
I don't want to alarm you, madam, but it appears you have mud clumped in your teacup. No, but still, he is totally into it. You've got clumps of grass on your Ghent. And when Danielle returns home, Danielle nodded, thinking of the companion she'd had after she collected those truffles. He had been rather magnificent too. Were we still talking about the pig here?
Of course.
That was
Surely.
one. I hear a spider put a web up above him saying, "Some pig."
Pig.
And he was right.
But what's some pig in French? I don't know. We'll have to Google translate that later.
And then Drew Barrymore woke up in the fireplace and there was a cobweb above her saying, "Some pig." And she was like, "Stop that!"
Don't you know any other words?
Free bacon. Right when we need it, though, here is a brand new character arriving at the halfway mark to liven things up.
Danielle dropped the cluster of grapes she was holding. She'd have known that voice anywhere. The nasal twang that belonged to Pierre Lapew, one of the village's most disgusting bachelors.
He is essentially Pepe Le Pew.
He is Pepe Lapew.
And the whole world in his eyes is like a cat that he's ready to bang. Mm-hmm. He is one horny guy. Here are some Pierre highlights. "Pity your soil is the best in the province, and yet so poorly tended." A nervous shiver spread up Danielle's spine. The old goat wasn't talking about the farmlands at the manor. He was talking about her. The idea of being with him made her want to vomit. So your soil means what?
He's obviously just being less frilly about it. For some people, it's a teacup. For him, it's a wad of soil.
And so poorly tended. I feel your teacup is live ground. And stretching out a bony finger, he lifted a wayward strand of hair from her face. I may be twice your age, child, but I am well endowed, as evidenced by my estate. And my penis. So Henry is spending a bit of time with Marguerite. And is this because he sees her as a potential wife? Like maybe he'll engage her before midnight? Or is it something else?
He'd been struck by her rather attractive appearance, and the fact that her very voluptuous bosom was practically bursting out of a very low-cut gown. Titties!
One teacup, two saucers.
I'd like to put my teacup on those plates.
Oh, look, talking of which, this is fantastic. I've been searching for it all through this book.
Okay.
I mean, we've already, if you thought Teacup was the out-of-context comedy corner, no. Ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
All right.
Brace yourself. You're reading this. Sight unseen.
Well, I'd read it this morning, but yeah.
Out-of-context comedy corner.
Marguerite stopped dead in the street, closed her eyes, and opened her mouth wide. Slightly embarrassed, Henry laid a tiny... I have read this. Okay. Slightly embarrassed, Henry laid a tiny piece on her tongue.
Oh my! Prince Henry has a tiny piece.
He gives her some chocolate.
No wonder he's been so embarrassed and so unwilling.
He does it in front of her mum and her sisters and everybody at the market.
The great thing, this is soon followed by ignoring her little moans of delight. He glanced at two older women selling chickens. I feel like this is the medieval equivalent of thinking about baseball. He's like, don't come. Just think about two old women selling chickens. That's it.
Well, he's basically wearing a cup for the entire movie. You may not have noticed, but...
Yeah,
I did.
Big,
he had a fairly large cod piece going on down there, so maybe he just gets like...
But a tiny piece...
it's to make up for the tiny piece.
Curled inside. Like a single bean in a jar. So, Henry finds out that Danielle, who he still at this stage, of course, thinks is the Comtesse, is staying with the Gants. And she manages to slip into a fancy dress to meet him. Mm-hmm. And they head out on a hot date together.
If it didn't sound so insane, she'd have sworn she was falling in love.
That is insane. And they have a wagon problem, and they end up walking lost in the woods. Why is it men never stop for directions? Danielle thought irritably as she took off her dress and shoes, tossed them aside, and scampered up the cliff. She's so determined to spend as much time as possible in her underwear in this film. And it's not like sexy underwear either. It's not like Spider-Man underoos, Charlie's Angels style. This is her in big white Holly Hobby underwear.
Yeah, she's like a little spider monkey just scampering up everywhere she can.
And look, sure enough, they are attacked by a gang of gypsy thieves.
When she was only a few feet from the ground, Danielle managed to kick one man squarely in the face, sending him to the ground. She then leapt on the rascal who was attacking Henry, but before she could give him a roundhouse kick, another gypsy pressed a knife to her throat.
Yeah, what is she now, Chuck Norris?
How does someone in 1500s France know how to do a roundhouse kick?
This is like the Shrek scene, isn't it? With Princess Fiona doing all the
Matrix
karate stuff and everything and taking out all those dudes. Which again is this whole reversal of like, oh man, sisters are doing it for themselves. Can you believe it? The girl is fighting the bad guys. Has the world gone insane?
Amazing!
The prince is just standing there and she's doing it. Can you imagine if we took so much like, oh my god, at like, a scene where Bruce Willis washes the dishes and we're like, a man, he's washing the dishes. Can you believe that? Take that, girls. He's getting those plates clean. Look at him work that teacup.
I'm sure Suzanne would probably have the same reaction if you did the dishes.
I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, but I did actually like this in the film.
Yeah.
With that criticism, I do think this is one of the better scenes. The gypsies want the prince. They've got a score to settle. But they do agree to let Danielle go, and because the leader is trying to charm her a bit. He says she can have a dress, and in fact, she can leave with whatever she can carry. And this happens.
With sure, firm strides, Danielle walked past her discarded clothes and scooped up the prince. Taking only a second to adjust his weight, she gave the gypsy leader a short curtsy and then strolled off through the woods.
Yeah, and it's got more impact in the film. Like Drew Barrymore.
She just throws him over her shoulder like a rag doll.
Yeah, hefting Dougray Scott out of there. And as much as you want to talk about this gender stuff and how, maybe cynical some of it is a really effective image. Like, you wouldn't see that in another film, and I can't imagine anyone else doing it.
And it doesn't look like, stunt people or whatever. Like, it's Drew Barrymore carting off a slightly sheepish-looking Dougray Scott.
Because imagine, like, you're watching Batman and Vicky Vale ends up, like, slinging Batman over her shoulder and walking down an alley or something while it would be over for Batman right there. That's the sort of impact this has. So I do like that. I think to play with it in unexpected ways is really cool.
Yeah. And after that, the gypsies go, well, fuck that. That was pretty amazing. And they will hang out and get pissed.
Yeah, they pal up with them and they spend the night drinking gypsy juice in a cave. And then one thing leads to another and...
Their lips met. Henry had never been so dizzy either. Dizzy in love.
This is him and the gypsy chief, right?
Yeah. It was Petit Four the pig.
He got his eyebrow caught in his earring. But look, she had a fun night, but she is in all manner of shit when she goes home to the guts.
The lashing Rod Miller had given Danielle that afternoon had been brutal, perhaps the worst ever. Of course, she couldn't see them, but Danielle knew the welts were severe.
And this is what I mean. Like, she can fly kick a gang of gypsies, but then succumbs to lashings from a leathery Angelica Houston. Like, she's so tough and strong, but not when the story requires her to be. Once it has to be a parallel with Cinderella again. Like, she should have just fucking jumped out and grabbed hold of that whip as it was coming down and broken it over a knee and gone, no more. You hit me again, I hit you, bitch. And then it would have been like, whoa, shit, okay, maybe we've got to change things up around here.
Maybe this actually just is her superhero origin story.
But she just takes it.
Yeah, it's her alter ego, is the mild Danielle.
So she still goes, though, and meets secretly with Prince Henry in the ruins, otherwise known as a make-out point. But her welts cause his embrace to stink, and she pulls away.
Danielle stumbled backward, drinking in every last feature of his being. His compassionate eyes, his strong arms, his soft lips, his chiseled cheekbones, his sensitive soul.
Notice
How can you see his sensitive soul?
Yeah, well, on the scale of desirable features in a human, sensitive soul is second to chiseled cheekbones. And then Rod Miller again locks her in the cellar.
There was nothing Danielle could say. Nothing and no one would free her from this prison. And nothing and no one could ever carry her into Henry's loving arms again.
So now she wants to be carried? I thought she was the carrier, not the carriee. See, it's such mixed messages. Finally, we're at the night of the masquerade ball. Danielle's still locked in the cellar, but she is freed by Leonardo da Vinci. This is like a crazy episode of Doctor Who wants her to go to the ball and tell Henry the truth. But I do like this line, genuinely. When I was watching the film, this stood out as well.
She managed a tiny smile. A bird may love a fish, signore, but where would they live?
And Da Vinci paints her face. Like, she totally gets a Da Vinci makeover, which is just crazy to me. So Da Vinci turns out to be the fairy godmother in the Cinderella story. He's the one that changes her up and makes her look fascinating and wonderful for the ball.
And he basically, in late 90s tradition, just covers her in fucking glitter.
He loved his glitter. This, though, in my opinion, is the best portion of writing in the whole book. I'm serious about this. Jacqueline was in heaven, except for the stupid horse mask her mother had talked her into wearing. Rod Miller had assured her she'd be the prettiest filly at the ball, and like a fool she'd believed her. The sweatiest is more like it, Jacqueline thought as she piled her plate with cheese and hunks of crusty bread. It wasn't exactly a mask, it was more of a horse helmet. That could be from another book. That could be from a better book. I want to read that story. Not the one that we're given.
And she ends up hooking up with a dude who had an equally shitty mask. And I'm like, I want to find out about those people.
Yeah, that's the real thing. And then finally, Danielle enters.
in a very Baz Luhrmann-y entrance. There at the top of the stairs stood the most magnificently costumed woman she had ever seen. Her face with a blend of feathers, powder and pearls, and her honey brown hair was swept up in glorious curls. Gossamer wings extended from the back of her filmy white gown, fluttering gently in the evening breeze from the doorway. A gasp rose from the crowd. The prince went pale.
Yeah, because all the blood was rushing to his dick. So, Rod Miller exposes Danielle for what she really is, a chav. The prince totally chucks the shits, and Danielle flees as the clock strikes midnight. And Leonardo scoops up what is described as still warm shoe and gives it to the prince. That's the kind of
creepy.
Detail that a fetishist would add. The shoe is still warm. I won't give it to the prince straight away. I'll just look after it till it cools down. And is it back to a life of drudgery for Danielle, or is something more sinister about to happen?
Raw horror hit Danielle like a slap in the face. Her stepmother had sold her to that slimy LePew. Before she had time to gather her wits, LePew's henchmen jumped down from one of the carts and grabbed her roughly by the arms.
And she's chained up while LePew talks about a horse he once had that needed to be broken. Says horse, he means hymen. And she frees herself and cuts his face with a knife. She cuts him.
Yeah, and bullies him into freeing her, which feels like it's probably something she should have done previously.
To Angelica Houston.
Oh, yeah.
About 100 pages ago.
And, there's this whole thing about how, if you dishonour people, then you get killed, basically. She cuts his fucking face, and he's like, okay, off you go. I'm like, really?
And then the prince, now feeling like a total dick, has arrived to rescue her, but she's like, I'm already rescued myself.
I'm a self-rescuing princess, baby.
Sisters are doing it for themselves.
Yeah.
As if it were a dream, Danielle watched as he slipped the shoe onto her foot. Of course it fit perfectly. She burst into tears and collapsed into his arms. Yes, 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 she murmured happily into Henry's ear, kissing his hair, his neck, and then his tender lips. Oh, yes. Man, she really loved that shoe, didn't she? Loved those shoes.
Kissing his hair.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Every morning she would groom his hair with her tongue. And then Rod Miller and the Gents are dragged before the king and queen.
Queen Marie rose to her feet. Baroness Rod Miller de Kent, you are hereby stripped of your title, and you and your horrible daughter are to be shipped to the Americas on the next available boat.
Where you will be forced to eat nothing but hamburgers and plasticky little cakes filled with artificial cream. And Danielle repays the favour and sentences Rod Miller to a life of slavery and drudgery and shit-stained sheets.
Yes, and they comically get pushed into a vat of dye at the end.
Vat of acid, and there's nothing left but bones, and then she turns the bones into a crown. Let's read the ending.
Where are we going from?
Let's go from here. Henry scratched his chin. I must say, Leonardo, for a man of your talent, it doesn't look a thing like her.
Danielle gave him a playful jab. You, sir, are supposed to be charming.
She sighed with happiness as Henry slipped his arms around her, kissing her softly on the lips.
And we, princess, are supposed to live happily ever after.
Says who? Danielle teased.
A faraway look came to her husband's eyes. You know? I don't know.
Danielle snuggled in close, breathing in Henry's clean, woodsy scent and pressing her cheek against his. Happily ever after. What a romantic way to begin the rest of their lives together.
It sounded almost like a fairy tale.
Oh, and that, my friends, was Ever After, a Cinderella story. Gotta ask you, was the book better? Come on, don't pretend.
Yeah, it kind of was.
Really?
It kind of was, yeah. Just it had those extra little creepy details. I liked them. And I liked how she just constantly talked about how handsome he was and how he had amazing cheekbones when he clearly did not.
Yeah, you know what? It also had one of my favourite out-of-context comedy corners in a while, whereas the film sent me to sleep twice. So, yeah! Holy shit.
Book was better.
Book was better. Podcast delivers, as promised. got a couple of Amazon reviews. Now, there were actually, this is a popular book, there were 48 reviews.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so I'm just going to pick out some little bits and pieces that I liked. What a beautiful story! Many people can relate to this story as they have felt less than a person by someone else. This story tells it well, and in the end, the beaten down rises to overcome all the past adversity. I too have told a similar tale of the rise and fall of the human spirit in my novel Fallacious. The story is similar to mine also in that it brings you to distant lands, incorporates castles, has a prince, the fine line between love and hate, and a woman with a strong inner strength that eventually pops through to bring her back to life. That's a first. Someone pimping their own fiction. In the Amazon review section.
That's cheeky as.
Oh, it's got a prince and a castle in it. That sounds great. I want to read it.
No one's ever written a story about a prince and a princess and a castle and some love and some misunderstanding. Oh my god.
Let me hear about all your romantic problems. Put in a world of castles and princes. Here's another one. My students' favourite. Then they can watch the movie after reading.
Oh.
So, kids getting to study this book in school.
Oh.
There are a lot better written books in the world for your kids to study.
Yeah.
If I fear for the American education system sometimes. I feel like maybe that is what's happening. Like, you know, there are teachers out there that are teaching English and just going, oh, Ever After's a pretty good film. I just reckon I'll bloody get the book of that and the kids will read that. They'll love it. I love it. And, you know, like, shouldn't they be teaching something with a bit of substance?
Or they've just got no money for resources and they find that the local thrift shop has 45 copies of the Ever After novelization. They just go, well, we'll just buy those.
Here's another one. Hi everyone, I really enjoyed Ever After. It was a terrific book based on a terrific movie and I think Wendy Logier deserves at least the personal compliments here. Enjoy! You think of any personal compliments for Wendy Logier? I think her hair is lovely.
Yeah. I'm sure she's a nice person. I'm sure her New Jersey palace is really nice.
Yes. And here's one. The book came today and I was definitely not expecting a brand new book that hadn't even been cracked. Thank you so much. Can't wait to read it. Not so much review of the story.
Yeah.
But a fresh book that hasn't even been cracked
Wow.
yet.
Amazing.
Look at this book. Just can't wait to crack it open.
Surely they must have bought it from, like, Amazon Marketplace or whatever that secondhand thing is. Because if I had bought a book brand new and found that it had been cracked, I'd be like, what am I paying for here?
It's been cracked.
It's been cracked.
It's been flipped through. There's a little smaller book inside it.
It's been defiled and I just don't want to know it anymore.
Someone's had their fingers all up under its jacket. And this one. She accidentally comes upon the Crown Prince of France and sparks fly. This is a wonderful version of the classic fairy tale, and I quote this, capital letters, "This is not you, grandmother Cinderella."
What is that a direct quote from?
This is not you, grandmother Cinderella. Is this me, grandmother Cinderella?
Maybe,
No, this is not you, grandmother Cinderella. Final review. Whatever.
Oh.
Question mark.
Short and sweet.
And a sad face. Whatever. So there we go. That was Ever After. Now next week, I don't have the blurb handy to read, but we are going to get your ass to Mars when Sabrina and I read Total Recall.
Oh, shit.
So that is a book based on a film, based on a short story. So looking forward to that. That's the one where Schwarzenegger lays on Mars and goes, which is my favourite movie quote of all time. Please listen to the other shows. Jacinta and I do FP Cast, Pop Culture Podcast, every single week, every Monday, where we review films, talk about pop culture news. And Scarjo A Go-Go is my podcast on Thursdays where I'm watching and reviewing every Scarlett Johansson film in chronological order. And that's like film school. It's like a little essay each time. And this week is Vicky Cristina Barcelona. So don't be a loner. Come and join me in your ears and
I hear that Scarlett and Penelope Cruz get quite friendly in that one.
Ooh, that's one to watch alone. I hear they run their fingers around each other's
Teacups.
teacups.
Oh.
My.
Like the guy walks in and they're just sitting there drinking tea. He's like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, nothing.
Look out, Disneyland. We've got a new teacups ride. Be sure to rate and review us on iTunes. Just on the quality of that joke alone would be fine. And go to www.fruitlesspursuits.com and you will find links to all the shows and our Facebook group where we can have it out. We can discuss all of this. And you can send me a picture of your teacup via direct message.
Surely that would violate Facebook's terms of service. You'll have to, like, upload it to, like, PhotoBucket or something and then send it, surely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't mind how you do it.
Just do
I
it.
just want to see those teacups. Yeah. God, Chip is my favourite character in Beauty and the Beast.
Oh,
God.
a boy teacup.
Cute little teacup like that, I'd put a chip in it. Not really.
Oh my god.
God. What about that Mrs. Potts, though?
Oh.
Whoa.
She's a voluptuous lady.
She is. I like curves. And she comes with a handle.
And she's so hot.
Yeah. Hot,
She's full of hot, steamy liquid.
And what a voice. She will be. Full of hot stuff. Alright, so we can get you next time on the show.
Get you on the flips.
Come on, Jim.